I'm a filmmaker. I've worked in film, video, and television for over 30 years. I took a little break, but now I'm back. Previously on part 1 of Love and Relationships in the Living Room on Our Imitates Live.
What is love, and what things have happened in your world and in your life to help you develop that feeling of love?
What I tell my son today, I said, you should find someone who celebrates you, not tolerates you. And I think,
oh goodness, there's empathy, there's sympathy, there's understanding. Of course, you can't go without the connection. If you lack the connection, you don't have partnership. If there's no partnership, then there's no relationship.
You're dating someone or you're married to someone, how to raise children, because sometimes there's a difference in how each one of the mates wants to raise that child and who does the disciplining and all that. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
First of all, you need to know where your children are, what stage they're at, okay? Before you introduce someone, a third party, into their sphere, okay?
Mm-hmm. Coming up, part 2 of Love and Relationships in the Living Room. Our Imitates Live with Tanya Dixon is being sponsored by Tandyland Global, bringing your multimedia dreams to life. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Our Imitates Live with Tanya Dixon, so be sure to like and subscribe. And also check us out on all of our other social media.
All right, fam. So basically, are you all feeling that people should be kind of yoked, so to speak, when they are in a relationship, dating, living together, married, and trying to raise kids? Is that what you feel?
You talking about shacking up? Is that what you're trying to say?
Whether they're dating, shacking up, or married, or whatever they are, that they should be more yoked and on the same page, so to speak, as opposed to just jumping in, and that they should discuss it and have some similarities of how they want to raise kids before they just jump in and bring the kids into the relationship. Is that what I'm getting?
You have to be on the same page. You got to be in favor, because what you want to be, if you're the two adults in the household, then you guys should be a united front. Because if you're not a united front, kids will manipulate you. They know who They know who the weak person is in the relationship. But
Yep.
if you are united and you already agree on
Good
principles,
point.
and
Yes.
that's the thing is you have to have a principle life. If you have a principle, if you guys uh, are on the same principles, then no matter what they say and what they comment and what anybody says or do or come against you, you guys have the same principles. And so your answers will always be like each other. But when you have different values and different principles, like you value trust and honesty, and they said, well, white lie don't hurt nobody, then you're going to have an issue, you're going to have conflict, and then those kids going to see the differences in that, and they're going to play you on that. And you should live a principled life anyway, but live by your principles, not by your emotions, because your emotions can go up and down and up and down, but your principles should always stay the same.
Okay, gotcha.
So in other
All
words,
right.
what you're saying, Bernard, because there are instances where children would approach two different parents, right?
Yeah, about the
And
same thing. Hmm.
but the same thing, and they have to be on the same page. Otherwise, the kid would manipulate them, and they can go to their mother and override the father. So they have to be saying the same thing. If he says no, you're supposed to be standing with him. He says no. You understand? So they don't have that wiggle room. I
Yeah,
Right.
think that is
and
very
then and
important.
then you talk about it if you have a difference in opinion or you see something, because sometimes the wife can be more sensitive to the child than the father. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
from my point of view,
Right.
and they can see what you don't see, but what you don't do is undercut the father or undercut the mother.
Mother, right.
What you do is you have a sidebar, like you're
Yeah.
in court. Let's have a sidebar. I'm not going to disagree with you. We're going to go into the judge's chambers and we're going to discuss this. Then we're going to come back out to the gallery and come back out to the what's that? The people who judge you, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yours.
then we all on the same page, you
Right.
know. And you'll see the judge sometimes they'll say, "Are we on the same page now?" And they look at both attorneys,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Gotcha.
Very important.
So
That's
we need to be on the same page when we're with our kids, and then we should be on the same page too when people see us from the outside looking in. You
I
know,
So
got
so
Yeah.
okay. Let's say you're bringing in a blended family. These are some of my concerns. How
hmm
would you handle? And I'm not taking away from you, the moderator. How do you handle that with blended families where, let's say, you have a bunch of boys and girls on one side, and on the same side they come from two different extremes. What your take on that?
I think you have to have family meetings. And that's where family meetings come in real important.
Okay.
You have a meeting with the family. You can have it Sunday. Like I have a meeting with my son every Monday.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in your life? Well, yeah, what's going on in your life? What are you trying to do? And, how can I help you get there? Also, that's also a time for if some rules have been violated at the house, you don't have to like isolate one child out. You can say to the group of the children that me and your mother have agreed that these are the rules of this household, and these rules will be obeyed. And if these rules don't be obeyed, there will be consequences based on what you did and what from our expectations. So
Mm-hmm.
when you have a blended family, you have to talk to them all together so everybody knows what the rules are. And
Mm-hmm.
then as you have individuals who don't maybe see eye to eye because that, then you have to deal with them on a united front, come together, because you have issues where uh, they will play you. They will play you
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
because
yeah.
a
Oh
lot
yes.
of
Yes.
a lot of parents are guilty. They're
Mm-hmm.
guilty because they divorced your mother. They're guilty because they're not with your mother. They
Mm-hmm.
feel guilty But they don't realize the big pictures is the reason we were not together now, because if we were there, one of us might be going missing right now. You know what I'm saying? So you have to keep it real with kids, but keep it age appropriate. So if you have that blended family too, you might have two meetings. You might have one with the younger kids, and you might have one with the older kids, because actually, for my kid, there's different rules for the younger kids and then the older kids, because the younger kids get to require more supervision, and they have less freedom. And as your kids grow older, the older kids, if they're abiding by the rules and they've proven that they can be trustworthy, then they have more freedom.
I got you. I like that.
That's
Veronica,
good.
Veronica, you sound like you were saying, agreeing to what he was saying. Do you have something you want to
Yeah.
add to that?
I agree with everything he said. I had an issue with my stepson. He would try to play me and his father.
Somehow I lost
He
my
would
audio,
say,
Tanya. I don't know if you hear me,
I hear you.
Yeah,
but
we
I
hear you.
can't hear you. Uh,
Okay.
"Can you hear me?"
Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
everybody. Neil,
I
go
have to
in and
go
come
in and
out.
come back in.
Yeah, go in and come
All right, I
back.
go in and come back in.
All right. Go ahead, Veronica.
He actually tried to play us. He would say, he would come to me and say, "Mom, can I do such and such and such and such?" And I said no. And then he'll go in and ask his dad, "Can he do it?" And his dad say, "Yeah, oh yeah, you can do that." I'm like, "Look, I just told him he can't do that." Well, I didn't know that. Well, we need to get together and start coming together and making sure we one on one, one accord. We on, together,
right.
making decisions together. Excuse me. And then after a while, when we got to start getting it together, because he started this like at 7,
Oh yeah.
Wow.
about 7 years of age, and oh my God,
So that seems to be around the time where they can figure out the two parents who they have more favor with or how to manipulate you all.
Well, they also looking at their
well,
friends.
he
They learning from their friends, and their friends are being manipulated. So they're learning at school too.
Hmm. And
yeah,
it's
Okay.
he said
always a
that.
bad cop, good cop situation
All right.
too.
Okay, welcome back to the living room. We had a few moments where we had a chitty chat. Everybody had to break. Bernard had to go get him some more wine. Kareem had to go take some phone calls. Everything happened for a few moments, and we enjoyed having you, Kareem. Thanks for being here. But we have a couple more questions, about 3 more questions before we get out of this forum. It's going to get juicy just for a few moments here. So I want to talk about this, kind of ask you all about, there's something that is happening in relationships, and it may not be in every city. I don't know. We all live in Atlanta. And it seems like people are being a little more sexually fluid in their relationships. It seems like they're accepting more things inside of their relationships that traditionally maybe were not heard of or done, at least not in the open, they weren't. But are people now accepting more bisexuality in relationships, in dating and marriage? And do you see around you in your city, in your towns, that people are a little bit more sexually fluid because of the times? And what do you feel about that?
Hate it. Just tell y'all lie. I mean, I understand people have the right to be what they want to be, but for me, the core of society is the family union. And the family union is the man, the wife, and the children. That's the basic union that's the basic unit of society. Now we have different, like the blended families and that, but and it is more acceptable, because back in the day, if you were in my neighborhood and you were gay, right or wrong, they would. I've seen people just beat them up because they were gay. It wasn't right, but they did do it. But now I think it's a lot more acceptable in the black community, more so than it ever has been in history. Um, People have the right to love who they want to love, but I have the right to disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Well, here's my
You know?
question. It's not just the fact of a person being gay or straight. It's not that. What I'm saying is there are people in order to either save their relationship or to explore in their relationship or to maintain their relationship,
Oh,
they're bringing other things into the relationship, as far as being bisexual, having multiple partners and things like that. That's what I'm saying. And to me, I'm not saying this right or wrong. I'm just saying, what do you feel about that?
I
I
can't
think
even speak on
that
that. I haven't seen it.
Veronica?
I think they're just trying to add a little spice to their relationship. They just want to, see can they not outdo each other, but maybe see if
Okay.
what it
Is
feels like
that
to be with more, so to
uh-huh.
speak. They just want to be together with that, that other person. They just want to check it out, experiment a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I had a person who was a real close friend of mine, and they did the little experimentation, and he brought somebody, a third party, in their relationship, and they end up losing their wife in that relationship. So what
Mhm.
he thought, he brought pornography and a lot of other stuff into their marriage, and
Mm.
I guess she saw what she was missing and decided, like, hey, I'm
That's
out of
where I'd
here.
rather be. That's where I'd rather be. Okay, I got you. That's
Mm.
kind of the
Yeah.
question that I wanted to know because that
I
is
should
something that
ask.
okay. We froze. Veronica, you
That's my
froze.
that's my daughter.
Oh, that's your daughter?
Yeah, she
Oh,
just
Okay.
that's
asked me to
beautiful.
send her the link. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I think it's hard for two human beings to share certain intimacies with outside people. Um, Not saying it cannot be done, because obviously some people make it work. Um, but I think
Yeah,
for the average person, uh, who hasn't reached a certain, I don't know, I don't even call it maturity or accepting of an alternate lifestyle.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, that's a hard road to travel.
Okay, I'm going to ask you all some questions because you all are kind of stuttering and stalling a little bit, and I know you got more thoughts on this. When it comes to marriage and relationships, they're harder to deal with these days. It's harder to stay in these relationships because of all the things that are out there. There's temptation, there's what have you. So some people choose to bring
be
these
careful.
things into the relationship in order to maintain that relationship, spice it up, or what have you. So are you saying to me that if you had that, your relationship was on its last leg, and there was your mate wanted to bring someone else in the door, that you would say absolutely not? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely
Absolutely
not.
so.
I got the food
Absolutely
bunch.
not. Absolutely not. Um, I mean, I get it. I mean, that's where I go back to, if you want to have spice in there's a difference between uh, intimacy and sex.
Uh huh.
You can be very, very intimate with somebody and not even really not touch them.
A lot of couples are really doing this. I'm just bringing to you
Right,
what's
right.
out.
And
Yeah.
you can be real sexual with someone and have no intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the question is, in your relationship, what are you looking for? You know, and if you're looking for intimacy, then I think we have to talk about communication. Because if you have great communication, then you have you intimacy. I think flows naturally. But when you have poor communication, then I think you have the tendency to, instead of looking within the relationship, you look from things from outside to relationship to make the relationship better. My
Okay.
personal opinion.
Well, let me tack the
You
next
know,
question.
I'll put
Okay, now.
I'll, I'll put it this way: too many cooks spoil the broth.
Yeah.
Too much salt. Everybody talking about seasoning and spice and pepper. Too much salt spoils the pot. Too many
Okay.
cooks spoil the broth. Because guess what? Everybody's adding in their seasoning and dipping. Oh, take the spoon and before you know it, the whole pot is no good. That's putting it on a common sense level. So I'm agreeing with Bernard. Stick to the basic. Stick to the
Okay.
basic. And
Well,
stop trying to
with
add
that,
all these seasoning and seasoning. Because guess what? What happens when you get to that pinnacle of,
uh-huh.
oh, there must be a higher level and a higher
Right.
level. And you keep searching and searching and searching. If we stick to the
Mm-hmm.
basics, we're going to be
Well,
all right. I think
let
the
me
problem
ask you
with mankind
something.
is we're too
Let's
mischievous. We always searching, 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 searching. And what we need is looking right in front of us.
well, add this question to it. The next
Yeah.
question here: what if your mate does not satisfy you sexually? What do you do?
You go number one, you can get counseling. They have all sort of stuff that you can use that you know you're a big grown people that can correct that problem. It does not end with that. It all first of all, like Bernard said, it comes with communication, being honest with each other,
Mm-hmm.
um, recognizing where you are, having an honest conversation, and then getting help. There's help available for whatever it is, whatever is the condition. But to think it's a stigma or some kind of something bad and you don't want to talk is when you don't talk, when you don't open up and try and
Okay.
go and get help. They
Would you
have
stay
everything,
with
whether
that
it's
person?
Viagra, whatever
If
it may
that
be.
if that doesn't work, would you stay with the person? I guess that's
Yeah.
the question. Can you
Yeah.
have that
I
kind of
think
relationship?
right. I think Tanya is like saying, say if it's not going to change. Say if that person had a stroke and they don't have
Okay.
the capacity to please you. They
Okay.
can't go to Hustler. They can't go and buy toys, and they can't do none of that other stuff. Then where do you sit? And I thought about that when I was married, and my thought was is that I'm with you to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're breathing, I'm with you.
Right.
Um, you know, pleasure a lot of time is I can be overrated. We're so big in self gratification
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that we look at the bigger picture and we devalue the relationship and we put it on a simple I got to receive pleasure from them. But what about receiving pleasure? I receive pleasure from being with my mate for just being in her presence.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For being
Different
able
thing.
to, if she has a stroke and she's slobbering in her mouth, my pleasure is derived from wiping that slobber off of her cheek.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
See, we have to find a new way to submerge that sexual gratification that we think we deserve and realize that we have to deal with the cards that dealt to us.
Right.
You can either make it's just like lemons. You can make lemons and have a sour relationship, or you can turn lemon into lemonade and put a little sugar to it.
Right.
But I think when you're in a situation like that, it's going to require a degree of creativity. And then you're going to have to take your sexual energy and put it in a more creative way
Mm-hmm.
to be satisfied in that relationship.
Yeah.
What if the situation
I
there
think
is
your
no
statement.
illness?
Like,
Wait, go ahead. What you say, Tanya?
If there is no ill, oh, Veronica's saying something. Veronica, what are you saying? Go ahead,
I was
Veronica.
getting ready to say the George statement. It goes right back to the beginning of the forum on what is love and what is the relationship.
Right.
How do you feel about it?
Mm-hmm.
That's it right there.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Well, here's
it
what
right
my
there.
question is: what if there is no physical thing that is wrong? There's no strokes. There's nothing. You just don't match. And can you stay with that person if sexually you're just not there? You're not there.
Well, something must have happened because you got together originally and everything was cool. So,
But
what happened?
but Rod, it might not have been cool from the beginning. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? A lot of people in
It was
relationship because
going through some.
some women like they're in relationship because of power. Say
Mhm.
like certain individuals that I didn't like it when they were president. They did a lot of things, but their spouse stayed with them regardless of whatever charges or whatever came with them. Some women will stay with a man just because of power alone, and vice versa.
that's true.
That can go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So sex is not the end all of everything, but it is important. It is definitely important, and if there's a breakdown in communication, because that's obvious, if he's not pleasing her or she's not pleasing him, then there's a breakdown in really, really some serious communication. And then you have to reevaluate, what is he not or she not pleasing you? Or is you thinking about somebody or something that pleased you more than they did? And you're comparing them to them and not
Hmm.
really accepting them for who they really are.
Very, very good point, Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happened, people allow, they get conditioned by what they see, a lot of stuff on TV, the concept of what they think love is, what relationship is supposed to be, what sex is. We all affected by these outside stuff instead of sticking to basic. If you look at Maslow hierarchy of need, the basic need was air, food, water, shelter, all that
Mhm.
stuff, but affection was way up. It was not the foundational. You understand? On the bottom there, the most important was food and air and all the other stuff. All that
Right.
stuff about affection was on a higher order of the triangle. So I agree with Bernard's point that we got to get back to basic. I like the point, Bernard, where you talked about the fact that you're committed. It goes back to your original word about the commitment. You know what I mean? What were we anchored in? What was the foundation? And I also like echo that point where you talk about intimacy. Intimacy is not sex. People don't get it. You understand? We go through life having a lot of concepts that are dictated by external sources instead of going back to the basic, like you talked, the foundation of commitment. Commitment, like we said, to continuity breeds emotional stability. That's why you have couples that have stayed together till they turn 100. They're still holding hands. Why? Because of commitment to continuity breeds emotional stability. I see that in my parents. My mother and my
Right.
father stayed together. They never divorced. When I first got married, I didn't want to go. I had something that was mirrored to me. I got married because I wanted to stay forever. That was not, but things, life happens along the way. But am I
Right.
going to say, wait a minute, this happened, I'm going to do it again? I've never closed my mind. I've closed my eyes on the door of that should be something, the idea that can happen again. So,
You know what?
great point, Bernard.
Along that line, you're talking about your parents and everything in marriage and them staying together. The last question of the night is: have do you think that the idea of marriage has changed over time? Because, like you said, to your point, Neil, a
Hmm.
lot of people did get married and they worked through all the issues. I know
Hmm.
that my dad is deceased now, but my parents were married for nearly 43 years when my father died.
Right.
And people stayed together. They made things work in a different way. They went through bad times, good times, whatever, but they might have stayed stuck and stayed a whole lot more during that time. So, what things do you see that are just totally different with marriage these days?
It's too easy to leave. People used to, they really, and took those vows seriously, you know, and so it's not, it's just not like that now. I have a few girlfriends that have done it two, three times, and stuff, and say, and if this don't work out, I'll just do it again. So hey, you know,
It means, does it mean the same? Like washing your hands.
It's something that has to be constantly work on it. You have to keep relighting the original match over
Hmm.
and over. You got to, like some people say, reinvent. You got to continue dating. Most people, like Bernard said earlier, they start out in a relationship with their great behavior, they're giving flowers, and then they get married. Guess what? The flowers stop.
stop. Mm-hmm.
They stop doing that. So
Right.
we have to constantly
Yes.
be doing these things, reinventing the stuff, evaluating, spending time together. You
Right.
understand? What I
Right.
call lighting the original match over
Mm-hmm.
and over and over again. And until we
Marriage is
can get
hard
back to that,
work.
yeah,
It is.
it's hard
Marriage
work.
is hard work. It
Yeah,
is. You
it's
really
like
got to
putting
put
oil
in
and water
effort.
together. It's not
I
something you
want to
have
think. I want to
overnight.
say this. Think about your conversations with each other. The conversations that we have with each other, with in marriage and loved ones, and some of the things that we say that we wouldn't say that to our coworker, we wouldn't say that to our child, we wouldn't say that to a stranger on the street, but we would say that to our spouse. We
Mm.
have to guard our tongue, and we have two ears and one mouth. We should listen. Like I said earlier, we should listen twice as much as we talk. A lot of times in relationship, the reason why we're not communicating, because communicating is not conversation. Communicating is the transference from an ideal or a thought in my mind to your
Hmm.
mind, so you can have understanding of me. But
Hmm.
I also have to listen to you without thinking about a rebuttal before you get the last word out. So I cannot take a defensive posture on the conversation because I'm not listening. Because effective communication is also effective listening, and we
Hmm.
we have lost that art of conversation and communication. I for instance, women, you have massive power over men, massive all power. I don't think a lot of women know their power because under these certain construct, instead of them tapping into their femininity, they're more tapping into masculinity. See, a person could be masculine and a woman, and a man could be feminine and a man. But what you see in the dynamics, even in the LGBT, community, that one person is feminine and one person is masculine. So we have to realize that our differences are what bring us together, not
Hmm.
break us apart. And we
Hmm.
have to embrace those differences. And really, you got to learn your spouse. Take time to really see what makes them tick. Be curious about everything about them. Look at it like this is, and think of your relationship as the best novel, the best love story that you ever wrote, because it's your love story.
Right.
Amen.
And you
Right.
should take it in the attitude that this is a love story I'm writing. So if I'm on the outside looking in, I'm working on my relationship constantly,
Mhm.
because when my wife was going through menopause, our relationship changed. I had to adapt to covers on, covers off, covers on, covers off, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. But I knew what was happening. I started reading about books and stuff like that, about what other men and what other couples do. And so my intelligence, my mind was changed by the transform of new information. And sometimes when we don't have it, then we need to go out there and search and get it and find someone maybe you want to emulate. Find a couple who get together and they could be your mentors. They can tell you, like, well, how did you deal with this? You
Mm.
know, how do you get through menopause? How do you get through she having other kids by another man?
You're
How
breaking up, Bernard.
uh, how do you get by infidelity? You know, the thing is, the knowledge is out there, but you have to seek. Seeking, you shall find the knowledge that you need to make your relationship the best relationship that you can have, and you both be the best version of each other that you can have together.
I agree. I
Oh,
agree.
amen, brother.
Rosa, Veronica, or Neil, y'all want to add anything? Because this is the last question of the show.
No, I think Brother Bernard, boy, he closed it out.
I don't think so. So he had
Yeah.
it. I thank you all
Excellent,
so
excellent.
much. Yeah, I didn't know if these questions. I think I had like 6 questions overall. I didn't know if it would last us this long, but you all have made it through this whole thing for love and relationships. And I think that people out there as the viewers, these are folks here who have had relationships and marriages, and I think you will greatly benefit from some of the information that's here. And don't forget that here with the living room on our Imitates Live, we're going to do more of these segments. We're going to try to do them at least once a month, whether we're concentrating on love and relationships or other very deep-seated issues in which we're talking about during some of the breaks. So you will see us again. You will see a whole lot more. So I thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Veronica, Bernard, Roz, and also Neil and Kareem, who was a little bit earlier. I thank you all for tuning in, as the viewers as well. And keep in mind that we will be back and we will have a lot more to help you through. I'm Tanya Dixon, the Teddy Girl, and we will see you next time on our Imitates Live.
Woo, 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 woo.
Bye.
All right.